Hi everybody. Welcome to the Western Wednesday Fine Arts section. I'm so happy to have all of you here with me to kind of discuss probably one of the best majors you could pick at Western, in my personal opinion. I'm a little biased, but it's whatever. So welcome to our Western Wednesday. We're so happy to have you here. So obviously some things that we're going to cover during this webinar. First and foremost, I'm going to introduce myself because that seems to be a good idea. And then we're going to do a really brief introduction to the College of Fine Arts as a whole. We are also going to discuss some careers in the fine arts and then wrap it up with some commonly asked questions about the fine arts and the admissions process. And then finally, the game plan is to save a good chunk of time at the very end for you guys to ask whatever questions come to your mind, as specific or as vague as you want them to be. A good portion of this should be saved for that, because there's no way that you guys don't have questions at this point. So yeah, that is kind of the game plan. Hopefully that sounds okay. So first and foremost, obviously, who the heck am I? So my name is Blake Kuzma, and I'm the recruiter for the College of Fine Arts at Western. I was actually also, or am actually an alumni. So I decided to go to Western in fall of 2015, and I basically never left. I studied public relations with a double minor in event management and journalism. And the pictures that you see on your screen are from the time that I spent as a student at Western. I was an orientation student leader. I was a tour guide on campus. So if you ever get lost on campus, I got you. I got you. And then, of course, I was also a fall welcome ambassador as well. And I had to throw my graduation picture in there because you need proof that I graduated, obviously. So feel free at any point to ask me questions about my experience as a student. Anything related to student life. I graduated, like I said, in December of 2018. So not much has changed since I was a student at Western. So definitely feel free to either throw questions in the chat or in the question and answer portion. Totally up to you guys. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So basically, College of Fine Arts. Western has 7 different colleges, and the college structure is different at every university. But for Western, we have 7, and the College of Fine Arts is going to be one of them. So first and foremost, how many departments are within the college? So the College of Fine Arts is home to 4 different departments: the School of Music, the Frosting School of Art, the Department of Dance, and the Department of Theater. So I'm going to go through all of them super quickly, just because I want to kind of give you guys a really broad overview of everything that we have, and then later we can get into specifics. But first, we're going to start off with our lovely School of Music. So the School of Music was actually established in 1905, which is funny because a fun fact about Western is that we as a university, we were actually established in 1903. We wanted to be a teacher's college. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to teach teachers how to teach. And so that's what we started doing. And then 2 years later in 1905, we started doing music. So out of everything that Western has been doing in the very long time that it has been alive, music and education are the things that we've been doing the longest, and we're actually pretty good at it, you know, whatever, it's fine. And so the faculty ratio at the School of Music is going to be fairly small. You'll find that that'll be pretty consistent across all of our departments. 125 openings every single year in the School of Music, guaranteed. Sometimes there's more, depending on how many seniors we graduate. And they have everything from music therapy, music education, composition, performance, multimedia arts technology, jazz studies, all of that good stuff is within the School of Music. And of course, so much more. Now, I always like to talk about careers as well, because for a lot of my fine arts students and maybe my fine arts parents as well, who may be watching, it's easy to kind of look at a degree in fine arts and wonder, you know, what the heck can you do with that? So I've actually broken it down into departments because that's what I do. So for our careers in music, this is just a handful of the things that you can do with a music degree. Everything from a music producer to a concert hall manager, a composer, audio engineer, a choir director, and everything in between. So here's all the different things, just kind of a lovely little sampling of what you can do. Next is going to be my lovely Department of Dance. So the Department of Dance is going to be something very, very special. At the College of Fine Arts, the Department of Dance is actually one of the few programs that is what we call trifocal. A trifocal dance program basically means that we teach 3 different types of dance, all to the highest level possible. Those 3 types of dance at Western are going to be ballet, jazz, and modern dance. A lot of other dance schools, when you think about kind of how dance is studied, they usually pick one type of dance that they're really, really good at, and that's like the #1 thing that they do. With Western and their trifocal program, that's not what it is at all. I always tell people, if you are interested in being a versatile dancer, or you already are a versatile dancer and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one type of dance for the rest of your life, then this is a program that you definitely should be looking into. We offer programs of both majors and minors. And they also do a really cool fundraiser called Dancing with the WMU-KZoo Stars, which is basically like what it sounds like, really. They pick some local celebrities and pair them up with our dance students, and they have this really cool competition, and there's money involved, and there's a winner involved as well, and all of the money goes back to the Department of Dance, which is really, really neat. One really good thing about dance is that obviously your body cannot dance forever. It's just not the way it was made, and that's something that is on the mind of a lot of dancers very early on. In fact, at Western, you take a class called, Dance 1000, and they basically kind of help you figure out, what role do you want dance to play in your life for the rest of your life? Is it the fact that, you want to dance and dance until your arms fall off and that's all you want to do for the rest of your life? Or is it, I'm going to dance for a certain amount of time, and then I want to kind of transition into something else that maybe is related to dance or inspires my dance, or maybe it's totally unrelated and I have many interests that I want to check out, and you can do that because we're a university, not a conservatory. So that means you can do things like double major. I know a lot of students who like to pair a dance major with things like exercise science or things like physical therapy. Whatever it is, whatever kind of beats your drum, as we would say, look into it, and they'll help you figure that out pretty much the minute that you set foot on Western's campus. Some careers in dance, everything from choreographers to dance teacher, dance coach, fitness instructor. I know loads of people who are going into dance love to perform on cruise ships. Those are great contract deals that are for a long time. You get certain stretches at sea where you are paid to perform pretty much every night, which is a really great deal. But yeah, and then of course a lot of people sometimes like to double major and do different things. So lots of different options there. Do music students ever play for dance students, or is the music from recordings or outside professionals? Great question, Carissa. So our dance classes are actually all accompanied by live music, either piano or drums or both. They are not music students, though. We actually hire accompanists for our different students. It would be cool. It wouldn't surprise me if there were certain dance performances that actually did look for music students to play for them. Totally a moment of collaboration that could happen there, but not for classes, unfortunately. Department of Theater. So our Department of Theater is definitely going to be our smallest department that we have within the School of Music. They are busy, busy bees. So they have 10 main stage productions annually, which is insane because there's only 8 months of school. So they are never not busy. They have a ton of different things that they do, both student directed, faculty directed, guest artist directed, that they're always working on. We have 3 different theaters that allow us to work that super crazy, insane schedule. And they have everything from acting, music theater performance, stage management, arts management. I always tell people if I were to ever go back to school, would major in arts management. They recently gave the program a revamp, and basically what it is it allows you to pick 2 areas of concentration out of the 4 that we have. So it could be like theater and art, or theater and dance, or music and arts, whatever the combination you want. And it basically teaches you the administrative side of both of those industries. So obviously, you know, it's great that we have the actors for theater performing on stage, but who's running the house? Like, who's making sure that people end up in those seats to see those shows? That's all administrative work that happens behind the scenes before the actors even get there. So the arts management degree, totally super fun, highly recommend. Do you have to audition for the dance major? Yes, you do have to audition for the dance major. How large are each of the theaters? Do we have a black box theater? Excellent question. So the theater that you're looking at right now is actually one of ours, and this is our big black box theater. We have 2 black box theaters. One is this one right here, and the other one is much smaller. I believe it's York. But yes, we have 3 different theaters, 2 of which are black boxes. What year do you apply to a department? So basically, you apply to your department once you decide you are interested in attending Western. I will go over that a little bit more in depth later on, but I'm glad that you guys are thinking about auditions already. That's definitely a good sign. So again, another big list of all the different things that you can do with a career in theater. Obviously, there's tons of things, everything from on stage to backstage to before you even get to the stage, and everything in between. How many musical theater students do we take each year? Great question, Kaylee. So we take about 20 each year. Sometimes it's a little more, like 22, and sometimes it's a little less, depending on how many seniors and how big the senior class was. The theater department is the only department that's allowed to look at things like race and ethnicity and gender for its audition process, because we do want to be mindful and have our casting represent our student body as best we can. How many technical theater students do we take each year? Great question. So that one is going to be right around 20 as well, but that one's a bit bigger because we have more shop space. So that one's a little bit more flexible. What is the difference between arts management and stage management? Harriet, I'm so glad you asked. So arts management is going to be more the administrative side. So it's going to be things like doing public relations work for the theater that you work for, making sure that you have staff to run the theater house, marketing for all of the different shows. You're responsible for making sure that you figure out how do you get shows to come to your theater. And for different majors, that would be, you know, like managing the art gallery. So you're not the artist, but you're the one who is able to have people to come see all the different artwork. And for music, it could be running a concert hall, you know, so it's basically the behind the scenes. Stage management is basically more like you are in charge of organizing actors, organizing props, organizing lighting, organizing sound. You're the one making sure that the show kind of goes all together for stage management. How many students audition for musical theater on average? That's probably going to be right around 100 plus, probably every year. But yeah, good questions. I love these, you guys. I don't know if I missed it or not, but how many dance majors do you take each year? I didn't answer that question. It's 30 students per year. Can you double major in a music degree? Yes, you can. Will probably take you longer, but you can. Can technical theater students work on multiple shows per year? Yes, you often do. How many people apply to technical programs? I'm not sure on the numbers for technical. It's a lot less than the musical theater though. Love the questions, you guys, but I'm gonna move on. The Frostic School of Art, again, is going to be our final department that we have. They have 4 different galleries, one of which is entirely for student work. So basically, all of the students, well, not all of the students, but all of the galleries that we have are actually run by our students. which means that they learn how to do things like handle expensive artwork, how do you hang expensive artwork, working with guest artists that have their stuff, as well as working with student artists and helping them realize their dreams when it comes to exhibiting their work, which is a really, really big deal. We have 6 different computer labs within the School of Art, with all of them have the full Adobe suite downloaded onto them, and some of the different studios are going to have like actual drawing tablets, and just a ton of really cool things. It's also home to the print center. So if you ever need anything printed, the art school is definitely the place to go. They have some of the most amazing technology that allow them to do some crazy things with printers. And they have everything from art education, product design, graphic design, ceramics, metals and jewelry. And I will say that I think our facilities are probably some of the best in Michigan. I'm going to throw that out there. I'm going to say it. I'm a little biased, but that's what I think. I said what I said. And then, of course, careers in art. There are so many different ways that you can take art as a professional, everything from, working as, a freelance artist who does work by commission, to fashion design, running an art gallery, doing things like storyboard artistry or graphic design, product design, furniture design, literally everything in between. There are so many different ways that you can take a career in art, for sure. So now I'm going to move on to my frequently asked questions. I got a lot of questions about auditions and things like that, so I'm definitely going to cover those in here. So first and foremost, how do I apply? So for Western, this is going to be something that is worth kind of figuring out at all schools. But for Western, you're going to apply to the university first as a whole. So you can do that through our website, or you can do that through the Common App. Depends on, what you prefer. Some people really love the Common App and the way it's set up, and some people really hate it. So it's totally up to you. But what happens after that is very important. So for some schools, the application to apply to the School of Music, the Department of Art, Theater, or Dance is looped into the general one. But at Western, it's not. So you're going to have to go to the College of Fine Arts webpage and fill out a separate application to your program. It's important that you don't forget that second part, because it can really come back to haunt you in the end. We've had people forget to fill out this application, show up in the fall, and be like, I'm totally a theater student. Like, this is great. And we're like, we have no idea who you are. You did not audition for us. We're sorry. Like, we don't know what to tell you. So make sure you fill out the second application. Definitely do that, because it's very, very important. So in terms of, okay, I got that. It's 2 separate applications. So when the heck should I start doing all of this? So if you're a senior this year, just now, I always recommend that you start applying to schools right around when you start back school again. So it'll be like September, October, somewhere in there. Because a lot of schools will reward you for applying early. So basically, they will, either consider you for more scholarships, or maybe they'll, send you a swag bag, whatever. But for Western, it means that we'll consider you for every single scholarship that admissions has if you apply before December 15th. So definitely, October, November, definitely make sure that you're starting to fill out those applications and getting them in, because it's only going to reward you for doing so later on. And then for your second application, I always recommend that once you finish your general application, that you start on your audition one or your departmental application, because basically if you fill out that application ahead of time, you'll have more picks of the different audition dates that we have. Some of them are going to be as early as November, and some of them are going to be as late as February. So if you are interested in a performing arts major, then you're going to have a couple different auditions to apply to. I know people who have done as many as 10, 15 auditions all over the country. So that's a lot of stuff to try and kind of schedule. So do it early. So that way, if you find out, crap, like there is another audition that I have to do, I don't have any other dates, it has to be on this one, I have to go back and change this other one, then you have time. You can call Western up and be like, hey, I totally and completely, filled out this audition form, but it's clashing with another one of my auditions. Can I switch it, please? And they can say, yeah, no problem. And then you're all good. So do it ahead of time. But if you forget and you like totally, completely forget, whatever audition date that you end up picking, make sure you submit your paperwork 2 weeks before that audition, because we basically have to take care of the paperwork before you get here. So make sure that you get that in at least 2 weeks ahead of time, and then we can roll from there. Are there early admin auditions for the School of Music? So there's not a reward for applying to the earliest audition date for the departments, unfortunately. I wish that was a thing. That'd be really cool. Do technical theater students have some sort of audition? Yes, they have more of what looks like an interview. So they'll ask you to bring like a portfolio of the different, if you're interested in like set design or sound design, they'll basically ask you to kind of put together a sort of portfolio of the different shows that you've done, and it'll be more like an interview. Are there auditions for stage management? Yep, they're going to be more like an interview. Again, it'll just be asking you questions about what kind of shows that you've managed and what roles you've done, things like that. Do you have to wait to get accepted to the main school before applying to one of the 4 departments? Great question, Gianna. No, you do not. We always recommend that, but if you know that your GPA is solid, if you submit a test score that's optional and you're like, I got this, there's no way that they're going to turn me down, then you can go ahead and start filling out that other application. You live in Massachusetts, and some other schools I've researched have a certain radius where you can send in video audition instead of going to audition because of the distance. Does WMU have that for the School of Music? Yes, we do have online auditions that you can choose to be a part of if it's far away. I do personally recommend that you go to the in-person ones if you can. Obviously, you live in Massachusetts, so that's a totally different story, because you're very far away. But if you are thinking about it, it's always nice to be at an in-person audition because you spend more time, where you're going to be performing. You get to see the other students, you get to see the faculty, you get to see more of the campus that you're going to be on. So I always recommend doing an in-person audition, but there's that. Will auditions be in person or video submission due to COVID this year? Many schools moving to video submission. The short answer, Stephanie, is I'm not really sure. I think that more people will be taking advantage of the online option, and it is very possible that we may move completely to online. But that entirely depends on kind of how things ebb and flow with going back to school. So the short answer is I'm not sure. Do you happen to know if freshmen have to stay on campus? I do know that, and the answer is no. I do highly recommend that you stay on campus because that's where you make a lot of your friends your first year, but you do not have to. So my next frequently asked question, how much does it cost? So parents or students, get out your notebooks. We're gonna do some math. I know it's probably not most of our strong points, but we're gonna get there. So for my in-state students, your tuition is going to be right around $12,000. And the average room and board for everyone, regardless of whether you're in-state or out-of-state, is about $10,000. So for my in-state students, that sits you at the pretty little number of $22,000 per year. And for my out-of-state, right around $25,000 per year. Now, I digress. One big thing that a lot of colleges are going to have that they don't want to tell you about, but I'm going to tell about because I care, is something called differential tuition. So differential tuition basically means for a lot of schools that you have access to some very cool things that are very, very expensive. So in order to pay for those very expensive things, you guys have to pay a little bit more in tuition to cover the cost. So for Western, the colleges that have differential tuition are going to be the College of Engineering, the College of Health and Human Services, and then the College of Fine Arts. So all of our students pay a little bit extra because we have access to some really cool things. So what does that look like for tuition for my in-state and out-of-state students? So for a fine arts student, for 1 year of tuition, it's going to be right around $14,000. plus the traditional room and board is going to be 24. So your magic number is going to be $24,000 per year. For my out-of-state students, your magic number is going to be $28,000 per year, tuition, room and board. So that does not include things like parking passes. You can have a car on campus your first year if you want to, totally a thing. And things like books, which are also going to add some cost onto your college list. But that's going to be kind of the overarching magic number, 24 and 28. 24 is in-state, 28 is out of state. And I think you'll find that that's pretty competitive in terms of cost. So again, I also have to talk about ways that you can bring that number down. So obviously admissions has different scholarships that they can consider you for. Apply early so that you can get access to those scholarships. Do it. But there are two other places that you can actually receive scholarship money from at Western. So the College of Fine Arts will also consider you for some scholarships. They will look at your application, your grades, your transcripts, as well as your audition to consider you for a scholarship. But and then you also have the departmental scholarships. So that means that your department, so whether that's music, art, dance, or theater, will look at your audition, or for art, it will be your portfolio. And they will also consider you for scholarships. So you have admissions scholarships, College of Fine Arts scholarships, and departmental scholarships. So like 3 different places that you can receive money from Western. So definitely make sure that you rock your audition, that your transcripts and your grades are solid, because that will only help you in the long run. All right, can you do both technical and performing theater, or do they interfere with each other too much? You cannot do both. You will have to pick, unfortunately. It is possible as a design tech major to take performing classes, but you can't be both. How do we contact an advisor, and how do we know who our advisor would be? We made this really easy. There are only 3 advisors for the whole college. Dance and theater is going to be Deborah Gambino. You can literally look her up. Art is going to be Nick Gaudier. He is also the director of advising for the whole college. And then for music, it's going to be Ariel Palau. I can throw their names in the chat at the very end, and so that way you guys can contact them if you have further questions about classes and things like that. How many AP test scores can be utilized? I believe that we are super scoring AP tests, or no, that wrong test score. AP test scores will basically take whatever you send usually, especially if it's applicable to your major, and knocks out some gen eds or things like that. So yeah, take all the AP credits, dual enroll if you can, highly recommend. What happens if I don't make it to or through auditions? So I get this question a lot. This is where I'm going to talk about kind of how the audition process works. So if it's a question of, I'm not really sure if I can physically get to Western on the day that I said I could, or maybe, COVID is really, I'm not about auditioning in person just yet. I just want to do the online audition. Please do. So yeah, you have the online audition, obviously, but if you want to call and reschedule, just do it as soon as possible, and we will help you figure that out. If it's a question of, I went to an audition and it was awful, it was garbage, I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't good. So basically one of 2 things will happen. So you will either be rejected or waitlisted from the program. Now this next piece of advice is good not only for Western, but for any performing arts school that you audition for. If you happen to be waitlisted, it is a weird place to be. Nobody really talks about what it means to be waitlisted, so I'm gonna spell it out for you. So basically, being waitlisted essentially means that if our program were bigger, if we had more money, you would be here with us. But we don't have enough space, we don't have enough money, so we have to make sure that these other people are either going to come here or not. And based on what we find out, we may offer you a spot. No matter what school it is that you audition for, if you end up getting waitlisted, ask where you're at on the wait list. Contact an advisor, contact a professor, contact somebody, and ask them where you're at on the wait list. This will help you kind of figure out how realistic it is for you to receive a call back before school starts. So if you're in the top 15 of a school's waitlist, it's very likely that you will get that phone call before orientation even starts. They'll say, hey, you know, we got a spot. Do you want it? And you can say yes or no. If you're like lower than top 15, then it's maybe a little bit less likely that you're going to get that phone call. If you really want to stick it out because you're like literally like number 20, then you know you can stick it out and wait. Most of the students will start making their decisions right around May, which is right where orientation starts for a lot of people. And so basically you can wait until May, and if you get that phone call, awesome, you know, and if not, then your options, if you really still want to go to Western, even though you got waitlisted and you aren't officially in the program, you never got that phone call, you can come to Western anyway. Actually, there's kind of like a way to get in the back door. And basically what you can do is you'll be accepted into the university as exploratory. And you can go to your advisor and basically say, hey, my audition was absolute garbage, and you know, I know I can do better and I'm going to do better, but in the meantime I want to not waste any time or any money. You know, I want to take classes that I would have had to take in anyway, and they can help you do that. So they'll have you take some gen eds that you would have had to have taken. All the beginning level classes for all of our departments are open to everybody. So you can take your beginning level music classes or dance classes or theater classes that you would have had to have taken anyway. So you can basically pretend that you're in the program anyway, which is really great. And then you can kind of get to know the faculty, get to know the students, get to know the staff. And when auditions roll around next time, you will nail it. And it will be like you didn't miss anything at all. It's great. So that's my piece of advice if you get waitlisted. And then, can I join the fill in the blank if I'm not in the college? So obviously the College of Fine Arts is home to a ton of different really fun activities that everybody wants to be a part of because we're super cool. But a lot of people are kind of hesitant to join them because they're not sure like how exclusive they are. The College of Fine Arts is very, very open at Western. You can join the marching band, you can join the dance team, the choirs, the theater shows. Everything is open audition. So if you are interested in it, go for it, because odds are all you have to do is audition. The marching band is actually a really great example of this. The marching band is literally 300 members strong, and about 70% are non-music majors. So highly recommend. And then, what's another one? Where can I find out more information? So these websites are really good to kind of keep an eye on things. Ones where the general admissions application page, as well as the fine arts kind of main page. I highly recommend our social media. We are just WMU Fine Arts on pretty much everything. The Twitter and the Instagram especially. Twitter is freaking hilarious. It gives you an inside view to a lot of like the inside jokes that we have at Western as a part of our college. A lot of departmental, just kind of fun quirks and things like that. The Instagram is a great place for us to showcase our students' work. So if you want to see what our students have been up to, that's a great place to do it. And then of course, the Facebook page is also super informational, highly recommend. And then our YouTube pages, go see the YouTube pages because they're so helpful. All of the YouTube, all of the webinars that are a part of the series, so this will be up there, are super helpful. They're all going to be on Western's admissions YouTube page. The College of Fine Arts has its own YouTube page, and the theater department also has their own separate YouTube page. The YouTube pages are a great way to get inside of our spaces while we still aren't open yet. You can see the things that we can do inside our spaces without physically being there, which is super handy. So yeah, there's that. And now I'm gonna pop back to my Amy's question. So I'm interested in both graphic design and photography, but I'm not sure if I should major in both or minor in photography. What would I recommend? Graphic design basically has a ton of different studio arts that inform it. So like for graphic design, you aren't going to be using stock photography. You're going to be doing your own. So if you're interested in photography, don't feel like, you know, if you go with graphic design that you're not going to get any of those aspects of graphic design or of photography, because you definitely will be. Whereas if it was vice versa and you study photography, that's really the only thing that you're going to be doing. You'll be really good at it, but you won't get as many as the graphic design elements that you would if you were to do graphic design. The graphic design program is pretty competitive. They only accept 20 students per year. I will say that. The photography major is a little bit more open. So something to keep in mind, but I highly recommend. Since the audition typically covers 3 areas, singing, acting, and dance, does WMU weigh one of the areas higher than the others? I don't necessarily think that it weighs things higher than the other. However, I do know that the way the theater auditions work is that the singing portions and the acting portions are judged first, and then they make the first cuts from there. So dance is the last thing that you do. So I would say, you know, place heavier emphasis on your singing and monologue. Dancing is something that we realize is not, you know, some people's strong point, and it can be taught. But if you are good at dancing, then it's only going to strengthen your performance in your audition, and it's only going to be more likely that you get a callback. So there's that. What are the most common double majors paired with a fine arts major? Well, that depends on the area, Harriet. You know, I know a lot of art students who pair it with a business degree. I know a lot of art students who pair with a, you know, more exercise science or like different kind of science. Some people who pair it with their other passions like political science or sustainability, or we even have a student who was double majoring in music and engineering. There are so many different things that you can study at Western. It's actually kind of a problem because there's too many choices. But you know, you have nothing but options, really. So whatever is your passion, if you're interested in double majoring, there are some majors where that's going to be easier than others, but look into it, go for it. Do you know if you are able to drive the campus during this COVID period? They haven't shut down campus as far as like you can't even drive into it. You can drive around campus for sure. But yeah, we aren't doing any tours at this point. How many people apply to the School of Music on average? It depends. So with the School of Music, you audition for a studio, not the School of Music as a whole. So you do it either by instrument or by vocal studio. So sometimes the numbers can be as high as 300 for those 126 spots. It all depends on the year, really. It kind of depends. Is there a virtual tour available of the backstage of the theaters? Look at the YouTube. So if you want to see the costume shops, the stages, go through their theater YouTube page. It's all pretty much there. Do the studio professors teach lessons for both music, performance, and education majors, or is it an assistant? So most of our lessons are taught by our professors. Some larger classes will have teaching assistants, but most of your work is going to be done directly with faculty. Is there a separate dorm for fine arts or music? Yes, there is. There is a College of Fine Arts learning community, and that is going to be in the Valleys this year. But basically, it's a place where people that are in the College of Fine Arts can all kind of live together. I highly recommend living in the learning community because you will have something called the Learning Community Assistant, which is basically like a live-in tutor. They're typically an upperclassman who's also in the fine arts. They will have, you know, all sorts of tips and tricks for being a fine arts student at Western. But yeah, I highly recommend living there. A lot of our residence halls have kind of their different perks, but learning communities are great. There's even an honors fine arts learning community. It gets as specific as that. So highly recommend both of those. What should we expect for dance auditions? A long day. You're basically going to be taking mini lessons for all of our departments. So you'll be doing ballet, modern, and jazz all in one day. So if one of those areas is not your strong suit, then definitely maybe start practicing a little bit more. But if you are already a versatile dancer, then you'll be fine. It's basically like teaching a little mini lesson. It's not like we are gonna, expect you to know everything the minute that you show up. It'll be a long day, but it'll be okay. Are there any available jobs on campus that involve working with the arts programs? There are so many. The School of Music have trolls, which work for the concerts office. So you help set up concerts for the School of Music. They also have students who run instrument control, so renting out instruments to students. The art school, if you want to work in the print center, if you want to work front desk where my office is, if you want to work in the galleries, you can do that. For theater, you can work in the box office. You can work at the front desk of the theater school. For dance, same thing. You can work as a front desk person or a tour guide even. Yeah, if you choose to be a tour guide for any of the departments, you're going to be working directly with me. So get used to seeing my face. But yes, a ton of different jobs that allow you to work within the fine arts. Are there internship opportunities for technical theater? Yes, there are. And your faculty will actually help you kind of figure out what ones will be best for you, depending on what you end up being most interested in. Do music education majors compete directly against performance majors for admissions or space in the studio, or are they assessed differently? You are assessed differently. So yeah, you audition for the same studio, but the education majors have their own limit versus performance. So yes and no. Do you have a color guard in your marching band? Yes. If you apply to the Lee Honors College, is there an honors program in the School of Music, or would it be a double major? The Honors College basically pairs with whatever you're doing. So, you can be an honors, you can be an honors whatever. It's not a separate major. It's just kind of a part of your title, I guess, if you want to say. Would auditioning for both instrument and vocal strengthen audition? Or, I lost it. Would auditioning for both instrument and vocal strengthen an audition, or does it not really make a difference? It doesn't really make a difference. If you are worried that the one that you really want you won't be good enough, essentially, then you could audition for both, but it doesn't give you any leg up, the fact that you auditioned for both. Who makes decisions on music education auditions? Is it the studio lead, band director, or someone else? It's the studio lead. So whoever is going to be teaching you directly, that will be the person that will make the call. And sometimes studios have more than one faculty member that is working with students, but usually it's the head of the studio. What transportation options are available on campus? Great question. We have a busing system, which is for free, and even the city buses will transport students for free with your student ID. So that will take you pretty much everywhere. I had a car on campus my first year, but I knew plenty of people who got along just fine without it. We also have a train station in Kalamazoo that's maybe like 2 miles away from campus. So you can take the bus to take the train to go pretty much wherever, which is really cool. How's the music program viewed from the perspective of the rest of the school? Is it prominent or more of a smaller community on campus? So it's both. It is a small community in the sense that there's only 120 of them per year. They are the largest department in the College of Fine Arts, coming in at around 400 students. But they are, I think one way to look at it is like our fine arts students aren't tucked away like a lot of other universities, where they're not the weird kids in the corner. We'll bring them out every now and then at football games and yay, they do something cool, and then we put them away. That's not how it is at Western. They're very visible, and not only in the university, but in the community as well. Our music students have deals with local restaurants that they play, and our community really supports our fine arts students. And I think that's really, really special and something that I personally have only experienced in Kalamazoo. Can you do a musical theater major and a theater management minor within 4 years? I'm not sure that we have a theater management minor, to be completely honest. If you are interested in stage management, I will say that they only accept 4 students per year. And yes, I said 4. So I would, if you're trying to decide between the two, if you're stronger on stage than you are backstage, I would go for musical theater instead. Can you apply to WMU undecided and still apply for the College of Fine Arts? Yes and no. So if you are really struggling to decide whether or not you, like what department of the College of Fine Arts you want to be a part of, you can audition for both. Say you want to go for dance and for theater, you can do an audition for both, and depending on how those go, maybe your decision will be made for you. But if you're really just super like totally not sure, I cannot decide, then you will go into the university as exploratory, and your advisor will kind of help you make sure that you can kind of figure out which one is right for you, basically. But at that point, you will be a year behind if you don't audition. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to be a year behind, because then you're absolutely sure that this is what you want to do. But sometimes that bothers people. So there's that. Why did you choose WMU, and what were a couple of things that you liked about my experience? Gianna, this is literally my favorite question. Okay. So I chose WMU because I grew up in a town, so to do the annoying Michigan thing, I grew up like right here, which is like in the middle of Michigan, Canadian Lakes, Michigan. I was between Ferris State University and Central Michigan University, and I said no to both. I wanted to get away from home, and 2 hours was like the perfect drive. But I chose WMU because it felt like home. And I know that's super cheesy and cliche, but once you start, looking at colleges, you will look at, the different things that universities have going for them. So like the support of the community, how well do the students, intertangle with the rest of the world kind of at each university. And for me, I grew up around Ferris and Big Rapids, and Ferris are kind of like melted together. You can't really pull the two apart, and Kalamazoo is the same way. So it felt to me a lot like Big Rapids, where it wasn't so huge. I didn't feel like I was going to get lost and drown in like the city, but it was 2 hours away. And they had my major, which at the time was journalism. So yes, I did switch majors, and you will find that almost every single person does at least once. So yeah, I ended up choosing Western because of the way that it felt. I really appreciated the diversity that I saw, which was way different than what I had experienced. My favorite experience was probably being a tour guide or being an orientation student leader. Very, very close. Both of them were student jobs that I had that allowed me to meet a lot of amazing people. Yeah, I'm so nostalgic now. Can undergraduate students have leadership roles in marching band? Yes, you can. I do not know all the specific titles, but I knew one of my friends from orientation was actually one of the head people for color guard. So yes, you can have leadership positions in the band. If I am taking PSEO classes at the U of MN School of Music this year, will my credits transfer? So if you're a transfer student, the best way to find that out is to ask your advisor. I go to a school that doesn't have a marching band due to size. Do I need background knowledge for the marching band? You will have to audition for the marching band. So if you have never marched before, that may prove challenging, but that's not to say that you can't be taught. You may be an absolute phenomenal person at your instrument, so it may not matter. So do definitely audition or talk to Dr. Harris, and he'll help you out. Are MT auditions decisions rolling, or do they make decisions all at once? They usually make decisions all at once. The last moments. Again, here's my info if you guys need it or want it in the last couple of minutes. When does school send letters of acceptance into the MT program? Great question again. So usually you will find out whether or not you've been offered a spot in the program, usually around April, usually. And if you are waitlisted, you probably are going to have to wait till around May. But yeah, usually right around then is going to be when you find that out. Yeah, no problem. It was super nice meeting all of you. I hope to hear from you guys again. I feel like if you guys are interested in seeing me again, we do have the option. Our admissions is doing visit days, so you can schedule pretty much one-on-one with me if you have more specific questions as to like how college works. So yeah, maybe I'll see some of you again. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, it was nice seeing all of you. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. It was super nice meeting all of you.